Well, hello and a very good morning. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague Nancy Bora, and what we're essentially up to every day at 8 a.m. is to take a look at the overnight developments, is to tell you what are some of the top headlines telling us. And of course, the name of the show is today's Page 1, so whatever is covered on Page 1, but that's not what we're holding ourselves to. We will look at other pages as well. And that's not all. Newspapers from down south, newspapers from regional angles, Hindi, English, try to bring you a variety of news. Essentially, the idea is to give you the news pulse of the day so that you're on top of it. If there's a meme that's going viral, we'll talk about it. And if there's a visual that's going viral across social media platforms, because we're also worried about what tabloid headlines are telling us, we're also going to tell you what Instagram, X, Facebook. Am I missing out on something here? Snapchat, I think, is quite outdated now, is it?
No, it's not. Snapchat, no, it's dated out for your generation for sure. But for us, Snapchat is the new game. So.
All right, so we'll tell you whatever the social media is abuzz with. And of course, because there is a time limit structure, we have jotted down a list for you so that you're on top of the news that we must understand. But hey, and I say this every day, whilst we're trying so hard to break the newsroom walls, the rigid structures of a newsroom, they say it's toxic all around. Let me tell you, we're breaking those apart so that you can come in, get down in the comment sections, tell us what is it that you'd like us to do, and we'll try to bring you a balanced perspective, a nuanced debate, discussion, discourse, whatever the topic suggests and requires and asks for. That's our job. You do yours, and let's hope for something good to happen. Meanwhile, the list that I have, that we sat down and curated is that a couple of stories that we did cover up yesterday as well, but since they're on the first page and people might have missed them, we'll race you past those. A couple of criminal and murder stories, a couple of stories from what's happening in various courtrooms. But taking a look at the latest developments, today INDIA, the opposition India bloc, is going to sit down. Seat sharing is going to happen. Raghav Chadha from the Aam Aadmi Party has said that uniformity on all issues is not possible. India Alliance does not mean that we're going to be okay with everything. On the other hand, JDU supporters are saying that, Nitish Kumar is your actual prime ministerial candidate.
Yes.
Those Bharat analogies and quotes have been doing the rounds. Lalu Prasad Yadav, Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar. We'll talk about that. Also, impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. I mean, he looked quite the part with his sunglasses and aviators at Rajghat in the morning in the G20 Summit. But back at home,
something big was waiting for him.
Yep, something big was brewing up. There's a mystery, and the Times of India has done an exclusive, and we'll take you through that. There's a mystery of Chinese bags at the G20 Summit. For 20 hours, some gruesome hours, there was a mystery of these Chinese bags. There was a standoff. There's a new dengue strain that has come about. A new dengue strain and a third of new samples that were collected from Noida. That's what we're going to talk about. United States versus Google, because India versus Twitter is something people couldn't stop talking about back in the day when it was happening. Intermediaries in these social media platforms vis-a-vis government understanding and functionalities. It's a touchy topic. Always when a social media platform, it traverses the path where it has to overcome the obstacle of the government. वो हमेशा होता ही है. But more importantly, iPhone 15, ladies and gentlemen, in 15 colors. That's what's here. This phone already is going old. iPhone is also going to check its own loyalty with its iPhone 14 Pro users. क्या होता है, क्या नहीं होता है. We're going to give you an update on all of that. Manipur, fresh violence yesterday. 3 people got killed and people dressed up as police forces, but actually terrorists. Alleged terrorists. We'll bring you all of that. And of course, India in the Asia Cup final after beating Sri Lanka yesterday. What a performance. I mean, after all the batsmen in clumps, the wickets went down. Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, all back to back by the same bowler within the same spell. And suddenly you had all these, KL Rahul and Nishan Kishan having to take the batting to the fag end of the innings. The bowling, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravindra Jadeja. Well, we'll give you a roundup because, like I said, it's a Sachin Tendulkar tennis elbow situation. India के मैच के बारे में किसी को बात करने की जरूरत नहीं है. The entire nation has already watched it. Memes have done their job. They've done the round. All right. So first and foremost, what should we talk about? Let's get the sedition law and the Nipah virus, the Manipur segment out of the way. Let's quickly talk about the 5-judge bench that is going to rule on the sedition law. And we did that story yesterday towards the evening, foreseeing what's going to happen today, and it's already here in the front page. It feels really nice when you try and foresee a story, you cover it, and then the next day it's covered on the front page of all the reputed national dailies. तो पढ़ के बड़ा अच्छा लगता है. You understand कि हाँ चलिए ठीक है आपकी coverage सही रहेगी. Editorial takes आपके ठीक रहे. The Supreme Court has rejected the government's plea. The bench of 5 is now going to decide on the sedition law. Centre asked court to await parliamentary view on the new penal code. Now, I'm just going to read out a little excerpt so that the viewers are with us and they understand what's really at play. The Supreme Court on Tuesday referred to a 5-judge bench the issue of the constitutional validity of the contentious and much misused sedition offence under section 124A of the Indian Penal Code after rejecting the union government's plea to pause the judicial scrutiny and await Parliament's view on the proposed new codes in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the BNS, which is part of the new criminal laws that were introduced by the Home Minister recently, which seeks to do away with the provision completely. So the BNS, which is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, seems to do away with the contentious and what people say is being misused colonial era draconian law sedition. उसको हटा देने की बात की है. A bench of Chief Justice Diva Chandrachud and Justices J.B. Paradiwala and Manoj Mishra backed their decision not to accede to the request by Attorney General R. Venkataramani and Solicitor General Tushar Mehta for the deferment of the judicial scrutiny of the sedition provision, citing 3 reasons. First, the bench said section 124A continues to exist in the statute book and pending prosecutions under this provision would be valid even if Parliament enacted a new penal code. भाई पुराने आपकी cases चल रहे हैं, उनके भी आपको you have to take a look at that as well. Case is pending. SC says if Parliament enacts new penal code, prosecutions pending under section 124A must be dealt with before. That's number 1. It says in 1962 Kedarnath verdict, SC upheld sedition law after testing it against Article 19, guaranteeing free speech. Since then, the Supreme Court has expanded the ambit of scrutiny to rights under Article 14, which is equality, 19, which we just read, free speech, and 21, which is protection of life and liberty. And finally, the judgment did not distinguish between the state and the government. That's another interesting aspect, albeit a tertiary factor over here. The main point here seems to be that it says cases are pending. Centre has asked the court to await parliamentary view on the new penal code. Do you think it's a good thing? People were saying for the longest time that this is something that people are misusing. बहुत पुराना law है. अभी तक क्यों चला आ रहा है ब्रिटिश एरा का लॉ.
I mean definitely we are a democratic country, so whenever the discussion around sedition law comes up, my question is that every time, first of all, we have to clear the confusion that state is different from the government. If you're speaking against the government, doesn't mean you're speaking against the country. First of all, we have to clear that. And most of the sedition cases that have been going on in India for so long is because they criticize the government. So in a democracy, criticizing the government is the basic principle. And then you have a law, sedition law, which is being misused since India got independence because it was implemented in British rule. So, Britishers wanted that nobody can speak against us. So, they implemented this law, this Article 124A, that the gambit of this article is being challenged in the Supreme Court, and I think they are doing it rightly so because it has been going on for so long and Supreme Court did not have time to go away to, take a look at it. That, this law doesn't make sense anymore because it is a impeachment, it is a breach to the, fundamental right, the basic fundamental rights of the citizen, that, freedom to, express themselves, freedom to equality, because you can criticize the government, you cannot you cannot hurt the sentiments of the nation that you are in, but criticizing the government doesn't account as sedition. In most of the cases in India, all the sedition charges that have been put on activists or, politicians or anybody, it has been because they spoke against the government. So government is not the state, and I think that that clarification has to be given, that the boundaries have to be created so that not anybody can be charged with a sedition charge, because these can be cognizable offenses, non-cognizable offense also. So you cannot get bail on, you have to get convicted for serious charges as well. So this is not something we should be taking lightly, and I think it's good that the debate is finally happening and Supreme Court is finally taking a look into it.
Right, absolutely. I think it's a welcome step in my limited opinion. Of course, we'll have to wait and find out as to what really happens. We'll have to await that 5-judge constitution bench. And when it's a 5-judge constitution bench, there is some sort of credibility and trust that the public has on the apex body as well. कि चलिए एक जज नहीं है, 2 नहीं है, 3 नहीं है, 5 बैठे हैं, 5 के बीच में डिसीजन होगा, not necessarily unanimous always. So there are various viewpoints, and we've already seen with the 6-judge bench that is hearing the Article 370 for the longest time, and the due deliberations that have been carried out. So it's good to see that discussions are being held. ऐसा नहीं है कि चीज़ें सिर्फ पास ओवर हो जाती हैं, जैसा पिक्चरों में दिखाते हैं या मूवीज़ में दिखाते हैं कि you approach the court and you just get another date, and then it's another date, Passover, and the politics, behind room, back room management.
Yeah, and in the end, the judge will have a change of heart and he'll give a very emotional verdict.
Okay, now you've taken this like 2 decades back. Also, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly move on. Let's talk about Kerala, because even as we're going to soon talk about the dengue, the new strain of dengue. Let's first talk about the Nipah virus in Kerala. Take a look at this. Nipah kills 2 in Kerala, 2 more test positive, and we're going to do a full-blown show at 11 later on in the day, because Nipah in Kerala, they have a very weird relationship, and history is witness to that as well. Let me just read out the instant and important news. Nipah has killed 2 people and at least 2 others. A 9-year-old boy and a 25-year-old man have been found infected by the virus and are under treatment in Kerala's Kozhikode district. State Health Minister Veena George has said. The minister said 7 people are under treatment and 1 of them is serious. Availability of monoclonal antibodies for treatment of the patients has been ensured with the help of ICMR, and the state government confirmed the infection after getting test results of the samples that had been sent to NIV Pune. The contact list of one of the deceased has 168 people and the second has 158 people. This is coming from the health minister. A little bit of a weird information coming there from the health minister. Now, of course, moving on, of them 127 are health workers. Efforts are on to identify all people who had come into contact with the infected persons. Okay, so that's why that information is crucial. I beg your pardon. So they're also trying to instantly understand ये जो patients हैं ये कितने लोगों को जानते हैं, जिन लोगों की मौत भी हो गई है, people who've died, they're trying to understand what to do about their contacts also, because they must have
infected.
Because COVID-19 has really taught us a lot.
True.
They know, now we know exactly how not to take a little influenza or something that you don't know about lightly. But Nancy, before we move on, before we talk about the 300 victims' contact lists and what the health minister actually said, decoding what she said actually. Veena George ka reaction hai hamare paas. Let's quickly listen into what the Kerala health minister had to say.
That's reported in Kozhikode district. So, health department has given a health alert to the entire district. So, I am here for we are having a meeting now at 10:30. So, after the meeting, I will give you more details. Thank you.
Well, so even as Nipah claims 2 lives and 2 more test positive, 300 people in the victims' phone list. But before we talk about that, Nancy, what is Nipah virus? Why should people know about Nipah virus? And why is it so peculiar to Kerala?
Well, because these kind of diseases, this virus that we're talking about, you were right when you said we have been very careful after the COVID-19 pandemic, because this is a contagious infection. It can be infected. I can infect you. It is transmitted to person as well. So this is something that if you don't control it in its early stages, it is going to have an outbreak. And then 300 people have already been in that contact list of that person who suffered from the Nipah virus. So we have to be very careful with diseases like this. So, and I was reading on the World Health Organization what they are saying about is that Nipah virus infection is a zoonotonic illness that is transmitted to people from animals and can also be transmitted through contaminated food or directly from person to person and infected people. It causes a range of illness from asymptomatic infection to acute respiratory illness as well. So, it can be asymptomatic as well. So, if you have the infection, you might not know, but you can infect somebody who will suffer from, you know, acute respiratory illness or something. You know, their symptoms can be way more severe than what you would have had. So these kind of infection, we have to keep a strict check on it, because we were very careful. We were very, I wouldn't say because COVID-19 came and nobody was prepared for it, but now that we have gone through that phase, I think it's important that we have to control these kind of viruses as soon as possible, because once there is an outbreak in the population that our country has, it's very easy for these kinds of diseases to transmit it and get you know, spread it in, like from Kerala it will reach Kashmir in just you know, it will be just a moment of, it will watch.
But I think the authorities on the ground, they've been doing their work, and why I said this was peculiar to Kerala is because of this. These are the first cases of the deadly infection in the country since 2021, when a death was reported in Kozhikode during the COVID-19 pandemic. There have been 4 outbreaks in the country since 2001 of Nipah virus, when the infection was first reported in humans in the country. This is what we're picking up, essentially. All right, long list to cover. Let's quickly move on. Reading here on the front page, report from Manipur, ladies and gentlemen. Suspected militants kill 3 tribals in Manipur. Several factors that yesterday, you know, we started learning, and we did a full-blown show. You can continue to join us every day at you know, 6 p.m. When we put across news from Manipur. Do a full-blown show on it. Suspected militants kill 3 tribals in Manipur. These militants, they're alleged terrorists. These are banned groups. And what's more is that people were dressed like the police.
Yeah.
You're dressed like the police force. So how do you distinguish in Manipur, where already situation is so dire? How do you distinguish between who is out there to help me and who is out there to harm me?
Yeah, and this is what has been going on for so long. That is why there have been questions against the security forces, that because people who, you know, banned terrorist group, the alleged terrorists, I would say, they have been, you know, dressing up in police uniform and arms mutation. You can see how many illegal arms have been recovering in Manipur. Where are they getting access from? We have this whole Myanmar angle coming in as well. But the situation is so out of control right now that there is no, not one single person, there is no governance at all. That nobody is taking care of that. That, you know, a random terrorist group dressed as police officer killed 3 people, and you know, nobody could save them. Nothing. There is no preparedness in the state right now. Nobody is looking at it, that what is happening. We are seeing fresh incidents of fresh violence erupting every now and then. In every week there is something.
You know what's more gut wrenching is the fact that these 3 people who lost their lives, you know, near the village, were actually on their way to the hospital. I mean, take a look at this. These are, of course, visuals, you know, coming from Imphal. Old visuals of 8th of September. The situation is similar. These are the kind of, you know, forces that have been deployed on the ground. But what's worse, Nancy, is that you don't know whether they're out there to help you. That's the trust deficit that actually prevails on the ground. These 3 tribals who were shot, ladies and gentlemen, were on their way to the hospital when they were ambushed. We earlier learnt, you know, when the violence was really you know, it had reached its crescendo. An ambulance was burnt with a mother and a son inside it.
And that is why people have been protesting. That is why there have been, you know, road blockages, that people are not letting security forces who are maybe actually there to help them. They are not letting them in because they are scared, because nobody knows what are they.
In many instances, prisoners of war, you know, old-time gruesome battles, they've been treated nicely and much better.
True, exactly.
Ambulances have always been given way in various, you know, civil strifes.
Yeah.
There you have it. 12th September, press release. Headquarters Inspector General, Assam Rifles. Recovery of arms and ammunitions in joint operation by Assam Rifles and the Manipur Police. Of course, now this will, you know, instill a little bit of confidence in the people that, Manipur police and Assam Rifles have jointly conducted this operation. A total of 10 weapons along with ammunitions, including one M4 assault rifle. I mean, look at the sophistication. One 9mm carbine, 2 single barrel rifles, 4 9mm pistols, 2 improvised mortars, ammunition and warlike stores were recovered. And I'm telling you, this is not even the tip of the iceberg, because we've seen कि हर तीसरे चौथे दिन किस तरीके के weapons मिलते हैं, but every third, fourth day there's some shooting or killing that's happening. God knows what all is not being reported as well.
And whenever we have talked about, whenever we have asked this question that what is the way to bring back normalcy in Manipur, the first suggestion from experts, from people who have been, covering Manipur for a very long time, they've all said that, we have to take care of the supply of this, this whole racket of illegal arms and ammunitions being distributed in the state, because that is what is causing the violence at the first place. Who is handing them the weapons? Why are they using it against? And who is giving them the license to use this weapon? So these recovery of illegal ammunitions and arms is very important, because this will be the first step to control the violence that is happening in the state. So government really needs to first take care of this. Then only we can go to, then you can go much deeper into eradicating this ethnic violence.
Triple IT students want to go back to Manipur. They're getting irritated कि वापस course college में शुरू नहीं हो पा रहा. Lots of students had earlier, hit the streets in Imphal, going to civil society organizations and various other groups like the Kokomi and members of the Kuki NP. They're trying to tell people that when will this strife get over? When will we return to normalcy? We want to live our lives. We don't want half our lives, because let me tell you, this is how crisis, and crises across the world, from 1 year, it becomes second year. I mean, who had thought the Russia-Ukraine war is going to go into its, go on to more than a year?
Yeah.
We're looking at 600 days of that, strife.
Yeah, and I think this, and when we hear, reports of fresh violence still happening in the state, is still disheartening, because the, peace doesn't seem to be in the near future. Because if this goes to continue, if people, so easily will dress up as security forces and, randomly kill villagers like this who are just heading their way to the relief camps and hospitals, and civilians who are doing nothing, and alleged these terrorist banned groups. How is the lack of government?
Look at the screams. Hear the screams. Chaos, commotion, tear gas shelling. The government has to come out and say that people who are not media personnel, please don't wear this press jacket.
And this is a normal.
This is the least of your problems right now. Yeah. Who's wearing a press jacket or not is the least of the government's concerns. So much is happening on the ground. All right, I'm just going to quickly read the important bit and we'll move on. According to James Hangmi, a resident of the Kangchup Ponlan, the three had left the village in the morning to seek medical treatment in Kangpokpi for somebody who had developed a high fever. They were going only because his fever was very high. They were travelling along a Kacha road in the hills, which was created after the violence started, so that people from our area can travel to Kangpokpi and people can travel between Kangpokpi and Churachandpur without crossing through the valley. So it's very shocking that they could be attacked over there as well. This is the only route through which food supplies reach our area from Kangpokpi. So essentially a secure sort of a line that today has also been breached. That's the situation. That's how dire the situation is in Manipur. On the other hand, we know already what's happening with the Editors Guild of India. Intimidatory Chief Minister, Supreme Court asking them, why did you go there? They're saying army invited us. Supreme Court asking them, why did the army invite you? Students want to go back. Recovery is happening every now and then. Nobody is talking about the narco-terror angle again. Poppy has now, stopped coming into the headlines, which essentially means it's back. The cultivation is back, maybe. Maybe it's happening again.
Maybe it's happening. I mean, the Myanmar border issue is now nowhere to be seen, because now that, the violence, I think people are now becoming, this is the new normal for Manipur now. Because every day there is new incident of fresh violence. And now it's normal for people that, there will be a small
here in the national capital, people eat up trends within a month and they need something new. So maybe the Manipur trend for people is getting over. But let me tell you, here at News 9, we're going to continue to probe Manipur. We're going to continue to bring you the latest, details and updates. in our own time and pace, because it's important that misinformation is not being spread. It's important that we corroborate, whatever we're throwing up for the public to consume. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Let's shift our focus to Ladakh, where the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir Manoj Sinha, they together went across 90 border infrastructure projects were inaugurated. LAC's focus as Rajnath inaugurates 90 border infrastructural projects. So much that's happening. World's highest fighter airfield, that's coming across as well. As many as 90 border infrastructure projects from the Nichipu tunnel that will provide all-weather connectivity to the strategic Tawang region of Arunachal Pradesh, to the foundation stone for a key military airfield in eastern Ladakh's Nyoma. Across 11 states and union territories were inaugurated Tuesday by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Of the 90 projects of the Border Roads Organization, 64 are in Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh and Sikkim, the north frontier with China, of course. These projects will help in faster mobility of troops and equipment to the line of actual control in case of contingency, while also improving overall connectivity for the population. So double काम हो रहा है. Look at the earth movers, the earth diggers already in action. 90 border projects. People have been saying that, Rahul Gandhi's statements about China ne itna land le liya, generals coming across saying China has not even taken an inch of our land, it's all intact and right. Politics aside, with the Vibrant Villages program, with these kind of 90 border projects, because this aaj keystone lay kiya hai, aaj foundation stone lay kiya hai, so it's going to take a couple of years for it to be actualized and come across. So we'll have to wait and find out. But it is a good step, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But when compared to what we're seeing on the other side, how quickly China has been able to mobilize and build their own border infrastructure, how are the youngsters looking at it, and what are some of the developments that have caught your eye personally?
Well, when we talk about these border issues with China, it's always been a grave concern among youngsters as well, because China we have always had some dispute with China for a very long period of time now, and we have always been very curious about why are we not, because after that Aksai Chin map happened and everything, and I feel like even though India is slamming the back with economic trade routes, we are finding alternatives to that, but I think we have to, there has to be a point, because obviously there is no cards of a full-fledged war between India and China,
right.
But still India needs to give a hint to China that we have to build a defense wall against them, that it is not that easy to just you'll wake up one day and you'll decide to attack. So
right.
that it's it makes me feel more secure that finally Ladakh, which is that shares border with China, we are finally building a strong border right there. We're finally building a
infrastructure is right.
Yeah.
Highest airfield, all of that.
Definitely.
We also have a ground report from there. Yeah. Our colleague has put that across. Take a look and appreciate the new border infrastructure project.
भारतीय वायुसेना ने न सिर्फ पिछले 1.5 साल में अपने कई कैपेबिलिटीज को और ज्यादा पुख्ता मजबूत कर लिया है, बल्कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के साथ साथ अपने ऐसी कैपेबिलिटीज जो अगर काउंटर अटैक भी आ रहा हो तो उसके लिए डेवलप की जा सके। अभी मेरे पीछे आप देख रहे हो रडार सिस्टम है, जो खास तौर पर लो फ्लाइंग रडार सिस्टम है, यानी अगर कोई लो फ्लाइंग के ऊपर भी कोशिश करता है दुश्मन अपने एयरक्राफ्ट भेजने की या फिर ड्रोन भेजने की, तो उसको काउंटर करने के लिए ऐसे रडार सिस्टम को LAC के आसपास डिप्लॉय किया गया है। खास बात यह कि ऐसे रडार सिस्टम्स न सिर्फ चीन को लगातार ये दिखाने की कोशिश है या फिर बताने की कि भारतीय वायुसेना या फिर हमारी कैपेबिलिटीज बहुत ज्यादा मजबूत है, बल्कि ये भी कि ऐसे रडार सिस्टम्स करीबन 250 से ज्यादा एयरक्राफ्ट या फिर ड्रोन्स का उसको रिलोकेट कर देते हैं। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात ये कि इसके अंदर कुछ ऐसे सिस्टम्स हैं जो अगर इस पे मिसाइल से भी अटैक किया जाता है तो एक ऐसा वैक्यूम क्रिएट कर सकता है कि मिसाइल इस पर टारगेट ना करे, उनको जैम किया जा सकता है। और ऐसे जैमर्स या फिर आप कह सकते हैं कि रडार सिस्टम का मकसद है हमारी एयर कैपेबिलिटीज को और ज्यादा मजबूत करना।
Well, all right. That's what's happening in Ladakh. You saw those air defense systems, the radar systems, technology placed in these remote areas, and these cool visuals. And of course, when you're reporting from some place like that, I'm always envious of all the reporters who report from Ladakh, because, well, I absolutely love the cold desert terrain. And there's a khulli choot of using the sun, using sunglasses on air. That's something that's really awesome. But you know, more importantly, these fancy advanced technologies, looking at all of that, you know, right up there in the remote areas, and the defense minister inaugurating those all-weather connectivity tunnels, which the public can also use. It's not like it is for quick military deployment, but the public can also use that. We've already seen what's happening in, you know, when you connect the upper reaches of Manali to the other side of you know, the valley, which is essentially a way into Leh and the Spiti Valley. You cross that Atal tunnel. That Atal tunnel has done so much for you know, Himachal Pradesh and the upper reaches of Himachal Pradesh. So it's good. Well, let's wait and find out kab tak projects actualize honge. When can we actually start getting the benefit? When can military start actually getting benefit of that? All right, let's move on. Let's shift our focus to Libya, ladies and gentlemen. We yesterday put across certain numbers, but I think that we must talk about it again, because the Libyan floods and the storm over there, it has displaced thousands. Let me tell you the number. Let me give you a number update, which of course is a newspaper number update. The actual number update is going to be a little more scanty, so we'll have to you know, tread carefully over there. But it's safe to say that at least 10,000 people are feared missing in the Libyan floods. What is the death toll that we're looking at, Nancy, now? What has that number gone up to?
Well, it has been up to something.
According to Times Global,
according
to Times Global, it says, look at those visuals, deadly, ghastly. Of course, people are sending in aid, visuals of that, but 5,000 people have died because of the Libyan storm and the floods. 10,000 missing in Libya. Storm hits country, crumbling from conflict. Dams burst in Derna, wiping out much of the city. And if you look at the visuals, when we saw what happened in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, you know, we saw how there was a lot of concrete type sludge, because the tree trunks, the concrete, the loose rubble, the bricks, the metal, all the hazardous material, it started moving with the water, and the area to move was very small. So it all became like a sludge, and wherever it stopped, it concretized because of the cement that it was carrying as well. Imagine that happening across all of a town, the entirety of a city, the entirety of a plain. That's what's happened. The visuals, the images that newspapers are putting across, they're so deadly. The flood hit areas of Derna, Marj and Al-Mukhali, you know, these are places that have been the most badly hit.
Yeah, and there it says that massive destruction shattered the city of home to about 1 lakh people, and multi-story buildings, river banks, and everything has been collapsed. And just not that, 5 people remains missing, and 7,000 people are already injured from this natural calamity. I mean, first Morocco and now Libya, and you know, this happened because of the storm Daniel that we're talking about, which broke down the dams. And suddenly, you know, floods is a very dangerous, because one, it comes so suddenly that you don't even have time to, you know, prepare yourself to, you know, ask for help, rescue yourself in any way possible. So I mean, these, you know, you can see the visuals right here. It's so scary that, you know, the way, you know, you can see your houses, your cars, your property being flown away in the water like this, and you cannot do anything about it. Like 10,000 people are missing, and I don't know, I wish the number of, you know, actually people death toll is actually less, but 10,000 people are already missing, so the chances of survival is already close to zero. And you know, when a country is facing a natural calamity like that. So I mean, it's tough to even imagine what people of Libya are going through right now.
You're absolutely right, Nancy. 5,000 people dead, 10,000 missing, God knows how many injured, and you know, people are still, look at this, 1,000 bodies found, 25% of the coastal city completely gone. This is what the government says. Thousands missing as 2 dams collapse, worsening the Libya floods. So floods hain, storm hai, but now 2 dams have also collapsed, which is why Al-Marj and Derna, these are 2 places in Libya, which is already, you know, crisis hit. 10,000 people were missing.
I've been reading a report of the AFP, and they have said that more than 700 bodies have piled up in the cemetery waiting to be identified, and local health officials said as many as 5,000 people are missing already. So 700 bodies are, you know, piled up. at the cemetery, and I mean, and I'm waiting to be identified. Like, I don't know how many families have lost, and I think families would have been destroyed completely. There is chance that nobody from the family would have been left to even cremate the bodies. I think this is something that disheartens me, and my heart goes to Libya right now, because people, I don't know how they are managing to combat, and I hope that these relief funds are going to help them and help the country stand back on its feet.
Our hopes and prayers with everyone who've lost their loved ones, people who are missing out there. Let's hope for the best. Always difficult to put across news like what's happening in Morocco, what happened in Turkey, what's happening in Libya right now. Really gut-wrenching. But we'll have to come back, ladies and gentlemen. There's a time limit that we'll have to adhere to, and there's a long list that we have to look at. Today, when we're looking at domestic politics, INDIA bloc has convened its meeting. It's going to meet again. Seat sharing is on the agenda, Nancy.
Yeah, and this meeting is going to take place at Sharad Pawar's house. But one interesting thing to note, Kabir, right now here is that Aam Aadmi Party is not going to be attending the bloc. Yeah, they're not going to be attending it, and they are going to campaign for the upcoming Punjab elections. So they are going in there. They are preparing for their party. Bhagwat Man Singh and AAP is going to hold a campaign rally, and they are going to not attend the India bloc meeting. So are we already seeing a divide, a crack in the India coalition right now is something that is very interesting, because in Haryana also the Chief Minister is saying that Congress is fine in Haryana on its own, we don't need any alliance. So when statements like this is erupting, and here we have seen that India is preparing to come sit together and plan out their campaign strategies, seat sharing and all of that, I think it's going to be a very intense discussion, because now everybody, we have seen slogans of people chanting that we want Nitish Kumar to be our PM, somebody saying we want Mamata Banerjee to be our PM. So to choose a face, to choose the seats, who's going to get how much, and how are they going to tackle all of this is going to be very interesting, because Lok Sabha elections are coming. There, we can see it's just around the corner, and India bloc is still doesn't seem to be, there still doesn't seem to be.
Raghav Chadha is giving us an input as to how the Aam Aadmi Party is posturing itself.
Yeah.
It says India unity doesn't mean uniformity on every issue. Aam Aadmi Party's Rajya Sabha MP Raghav Chadha tells Ambika Pandit, and I'm reading this off of the Times of India, that all parties in the opposition bloc need to get rid of their biases and work as one for its success. Excerpts from the interview, I'll just quickly read some of that. Maybe you'll understand how tightly knit is in fact this opposition alliance. It says here, we will see Aam Aadmi Party and Congress come together in Delhi or Punjab as part of the INDIA bloc. That's the question. Aam Aadmi Party has joined this alliance in order to defeat the dictatorial and the anti-democratic regime of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Aam Aadmi Party has not joined the INDIA group for any personal electoral ambitions, and has joined this for the larger good of the country. The second question that was asked is that the Aam Aadmi Party leadership in Punjab appears to be open to an alliance, but the Congress's state unit has objections. So where does Aam Aadmi Party stand on this? Junior leadership of political parties, including mine, has in the past made certain statements which do not necessarily reflect the view of the party. We all have to remember that for an alliance like this to be successful, Mahatvakanksha, which is ambition, Matbhed, which is difference of opinion, and Mahatvakanksha and Matbhed need to be set aside. Just like in 1977, under the banner of Janata Party, socialists, communists, Jansanghis, right-wingers and left-wingers, everyone got together to defeat the mighty Indira Gandhi's regime. In 2024, something similar is happening. Aam Aadmi Party has not joined INDIA group for any personal electoral ambitions and has joined the group for the larger good of the country. On the other hand, even as we're talking about these cracks and drifts coming across, Nitish, India's Prime Minister face, says JDU bloc allies, they parry the queries.
Yeah. That is what I exactly was talking about. Everybody wants their party's candidate, their party's president to be the prime minister. They have, India bloc has so much to figure out. But actually it was right that you know, if I look at it that way, at the time of Indira Gandhi regime, people came together coming from very different ideologies. So it's fine. I think this India opposition bloc might
it
work
can
out.
happen, no, basically?
Yeah, it can happen. It is a possibility. But I think they need to strategize a bit more. I think this meeting that they are doing might help them to, you know, get a campaign strategy. How are they going to oppose the, you know, the Modi ka magic? How are they going to break that spell? So that would be a very interesting thing to see, and I think the break, you know, we can already see a lot of cracks happening because there is, because, you know, there is a difference in ideologies. When we talk about, you know, when the DMK, you know, leaders remark, Udayanidhi Stalin's remark came out, there was already a, we can see that there is, you know, difference in ideology. Some were supporting Udayanidhi, some distancing themselves from the remark and the party. So these are regional parties and prominent regional parties. They have their control. Everybody is Raja in their own state. So now when it comes to the country, who is going to be the Rajas of the Raja, that is going to be very interesting. And how the India bloc is going to decide on that is something interesting that I am very looking forward to.
Challenge for India to craft a narrative. Party is well aware, and this is a Radhika Rameshan, who's a senior journalist, their opinion piece in the Tribune, says party is well aware that a third term for Modi could wipe them off the national political landscape. So is it like a do or die situation? Would you agree with what the journalist here is saying? Well, that this is third term for Modi could wipe off, and I'll tell you the faces that I'm seeing here. Nitish Kumar, Mamata Banerjee, Sonia Gandhi, Uddhav Thackeray, Supriya Sule, Sharad Pawar. I can see M.K. Stalin over there. I can see K.C. Venugopal. Is a third term for Modi going to wipe out? I mean, these are real big stalwart leaders.
Well, I don't think so. It's going to wipe out because, you know, at one point we thought that Congress is something it's unbeatable. There's no party else going to, you know, come over and take the charge. So I think सबके अपने zamana aata hai, and I think there is going to be a time when not BJP, if somebody, you know, we might see a new leader coming out, or maybe a old leader coming out in a new, new avatar. I think we can, this is not going to wipe out, but yeah, definitely it's going to strengthen BJP's hold in the country, and obviously Modi ka magic is going to be more strong now. People are not going to break out of the spell so easily. So that is going to be something interesting to see, but to spell out is, I think, a very big, far-fetched statement.
Modi magic. I mean, people, even as India is coming out of the G7 shadow, and we've really put ourselves on the map, you know, it seems like India has come out of the G7 shadow. It has put itself on the map, and Modi ka magic is working everywhere. I'm just taking a look at the Dainik Bhaskar, you know, on that same, trying to find that same news piece, how the Hindi newspapers are carrying it. But right here on the top page, I'm just reading, it says, Ek Desh Ek Matdata Suchi ki bhi tayari, Kovind committee batayegi tarika. So Ramnath Kovind and the committee is going to talk about that. However, when we're talking about the INDIA, Samanvay Samiti की पहली बैठक आज दिल्ली में, the 14-member committee is going to meet today for sure. 5 राज्यों में पूरी ताकत झोंकने की तैयारी में विपक्ष, इनमें 212 सीटें हैं.
So I think the elections, the India bloc have a lot of things to prepare for. They
100%.
have a lot of
राज्य को 4 कैटेगरी में बांटा, दिक्कत चौथी श्रेणी को लेकर.
चौथी श्रेणी को लेकर.
Fourth category. So there are 4 categories that the you know, states have been divided into. दूसरी श्रेणी में राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश, गुजरात, हिमाचल, उत्तराखंड, छत्तीसगढ़ जैसे राज्य हैं जहां लड़ाई कांग्रेस भाजपा के बीच है. इनके लिए रणनीति राष्ट्रीय मुद्दों और प्रदेश की समस्याओं को मिलाकर बनेगी. तीसरी श्रेणी में उड़ीसा, आंध्र प्रदेश और तेलंगाना है जहां उन दलों की सरकारें हैं जो एनडीए या INDIA किसी के साथ नहीं है. तो थर्ड ब्लॉक इज ऑल्सो नॉट ऑफ यू नो प्रॉब्लम. यहाँ की रणनीति अलग होगी. चौथी श्रेणी में वे राज्य हैं जहां विपक्षी गठबंधन के दलों में मुकाबले की स्थिति बन सकती है, जैसे पंजाब, दिल्ली, पश्चिम बंगाल, जहां पे इन्हीं के कोalition में with their own coalition they could see actual cracks. So they have categorized, and the fourth category where like Delhi, like Punjab, like West Bengal, that is going to be a little problematic for the INDIA bloc. But what's going to happen next? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. Some important information that I'm getting on, the input group about Vladimir Putin. Well, let's wait before we hit the Putin story. Of course, Kim Jong-un made its way to Putin. Let's carry on with our show flow. Essentially, what we're looking at next is the mystery of the Chinese bags at the G20 Summit, because the Times of India has done an exclusive report, and I really wanted to show the viewers this because the G20 hangover is not yet over. And look at the way the story has been done. At G20, 12-hour drama over mysterious Chinese bags. Delegation had refused to get them scanned. So the Chinese delegation says, we will not get them scanned. Equipment finally shifted to the embassy. Members of the Chinese G20 delegation check into Taj Palace. Security officials notice unusual baggage size of one of the members. So, I mean, what was this unusual size? Let's check out. After a room visit, a hotel staffer reports suspicious equipment in the bags. So, checking bhi hui thi kya bag ki? Security team consults superiors, following which the delegation is asked to put its luggage through scanners. The Chinese team refuses to have its luggage checked, leading to a 12-hour standoff. The matter finally gets resolved after the guests agreed to send the suspicious bags to the Chinese embassy. The delegation had earlier asked for a separate and private internet connection as well, which was refused. I mean, what are the Chinese up to?
I don't know. I mean, when I read the
this is straight out of this is the movie plot.
This is a movie plot. Like, I'm just imagining the scene at the hotel at that time. 12 hours of standoff. Them saying that no, we are not going to get this bag checked. And you're like, we have to get it scanned. I don't know what was in the bag. What were they hiding? My question is that. And why would you bring it with you when you are not, because G20 is not a small summit, first of all. Every, top leaders from the world are gathering together, and security is going to be the first concern of any country hosting the who has the presidency, or whoever is hosting the summit. So you have to be very careful, and I don't know what was in the bag, why they did not, and how security officials let it go as well, send it to the Chinese embassy, we are not going to take a look at it here. So I think that was something interesting, because I'm just imagining the scene at the hotel, that what would have happened, and I am also imagining the possibility that what would if we have found something troubling in those bags, what could have been happened with India-China ties, because who are already weakening for such a long period of time. So I think that was something interesting that happened, and what will happen, what was in the bag is a mystery that I don't think so we'll get to know.
Look at this, look at this, look at this. The security personnel were anyway intrigued on getting to know that the Chinese delegation had sought a separate private internet connection, which the hotel declined. Sources at the hotel said the 12-hour-long drama was resolved only after Chinese security agreed to remove the equipment from the hotel and have it sent away from the hotel, which was, well, next, the Chinese embassy. Incidentally, the Brazilian president, the next host of the G20 summit, was also staying in the same hotel. A 3-member security team had to stand guard outside the room for around 12 hours before the Chinese security officially reverted, saying that they would have it sent to the embassy instead. Regarding the equipment, top officials said it couldn't be said with certainty if these were surveillance setup or not, as they did not get a chance to examine the devices. An intelligence official's assessment conveyed to his seniors said such equipment was generally used to intercept as well as jam secure communication channels. However, the content of the suitcase remains a mystery till now. Chinese President Xi Jinping skipped the G20 summit and sent Premier Li Qiang instead. Li, whose arrival was announced at the last minute, did not travel on one of the usual special aircraft meant for senior leaders, and arrived on a chartered flight to Indian agencies as a surprise. So a lot of weird things and protocols not being followed.
The mystery behind China.
That's the mystery of the Chinese bags at the G20 summit. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the FIR that has been filed against Udayanidhi Stalin in Maharashtra against the Sanatana Dharma. Nancy, you've been covering this story now. A Raja ne bola. Then MK Stalin had to come out and defend his son. But then Udhayanidhi Stalin put across that picture of the Kachua Chhap, the mosquito killer, on his X profile. Again, that malaria, dengue Sanatana Dharma comment, it has made its way. Maharashtra mein kisne FIR kari? What's the political angle behind it?
Well, now that after the FIR, I can clearly say that now this issue is no more limited to just the regional politics of the DMK. Now it has reached a national level. Now because, and I think we have to give it to BJP as well, because they took the comment and they are like, now Ravi Shankar Prasad has gone out and said that India Bloc ka agenda hai that they want to eradicate Sanatana Dharma. India Bloc was created to eradicate Sanatana Dharma, which was also statement made by the DMK leader recently. And I don't understand that what is going on in the mind of DMK leaders. Why are you adding fuel to the fire? Just accept the fact that Sanatana Dharma is a, when you talk about Dharma, you have to be very careful with these issues which are related to religious sentiments of the people. Why would you go ahead and why would you say that eradicate the whole ideology just like that? This is not going to help you in the elections in any way. And standing by it is not going to help as well.
No, you're absolutely right, because it is now a national issue. It's not just about Tamil Nadu politics.
Yeah.
But of course, it was in any case going to be a national issue when you're talking about Sanatana Dharma. It says Sanatan fire refuses to die out as DMK leaders add more fuel. Hindu religion a menace not only to India but to the entire world, says Raja. Indians living in other countries also propagate caste in the name of Hindu religion. DMK MP A Raja continued to stir the pot with his remarks on Sanatana Dharma and the Hindu religion, saying during a TV debate on private channel on that Hinduism is a menace not only to India but the entire world. On the other hand, this is how the BJP is reacting. The BJP says we will talk of Vikas, development, as well as Virasat, which is heritage. India will not tolerate this insult to Sanatan. This is Ravi Shankar Prasad, who says part of Sonia Rahul Gandhi's plan was to attack Hindu faith for vote bank politics. The cat is out of the bag, senior BJP leader Ravi Shankar Prasad said, while the party chief JP Nadda claimed that attacking Sanatan Dharma was part of a well thought out strategy of the Congress and its leaders Sonia and Rahul Gandhi, that as the Saffron Party accused the INDIA bloc collectively of having hidden agenda. See, this is another factor why the INDIA bloc will see another rift, because the Dravidian ideology is what the DMK is going to vouch for, and a collective national approach is what the INDIA bloc would want, which is essentially delivered by the Congress party, which is at the fulcrum. But on a lighter note, I'm reading here, it says after MK Stalin was caught in a jam, 2 senior police officers shunted. तो भाई गुस्से में तो हैं सीएम साहब, तमिलनाडु के सीएम साहब गुस्से में तो हैं, ट्रैफिक जैम में फंस गए तो 2 senior police cops were shunted. वैसे भी पंगा चल रहा है, बेटा मान नहीं रहा है.
I am apologizing to and he is just going to his social media platform and he is just making it a bigger fuss out of it. And I think that now it's high time that DMK leaders get it straight that please, it is embarrassing right now. You cannot go ahead and when he made the remark, first thing that everybody said was that he doesn't know what he is talking about. Sanatana Dharma, do you know the definition of Sanatana Dharma? There is a Vishwakarma Dharma that is also there, which because the way Udhayanidhi Stalin is coming out with his remark, he is saying that I am talking about the caste discrimination that goes on, the hierarchy that is there. Your intention might be right, but now it's not like that you are getting lost in translation. There is no translation to be done. You are saying that eradicate a whole ideology out of the society,
whole belief system.
Yeah, that is the translation of it.
It's not that you can't say something like that. It's the way you're saying it.
The way you are saying
maybe
it.
That's what
your intention might be.
People will get angry if you say it one way or the other. But it's okay to say it. However, there is a way of saying it. You can't hurt somebody else's
You are serving
sentiments.
this as an issue in a gold platter to the BJP.
Which is why argument, augmentation, which is why people like listening to Shashi Tharoor's old time speeches as well, because you appreciate when you know, a script is real tight. You
Yeah.
appreciate when a Veer Das comedy set is real tight.
Yeah,
You
true.
appreciate when Shashi Tharoor's speech at the Oxford you know, building inside at the Oxford building is
Yeah,
real tight.
there's a way to criticize as well. Criticizing is also an art, and somebody, very few people get it. And I think DMK leaders are
Friends,
Yeah.
Romans,
Yeah.
countrymen.
Yeah.
One of the you know, most important speeches
Yeah.
of how Anthony turned it around. Oratory skills are there. I mean, it's a great power. It
True.
can build you, it can cripple you. You have to use it the right way
Right
possible.
way.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, the news is that Maharashtra is also you know, feeling the ripple effect of what Udaynidhi Stalin had said. The comments that he made were derogatory, which what people are claiming towards the Hindu religion, the Sanatana Dharma. Udaynidhi Stalin and the DMK party essentially posturing themselves, saying what we're essentially trying to say is that with the Sanatana Dharma comes a hierarchical structure that you know, encourages a caste-based system.
True.
A caste bias comes with the Hindu Dharma. This is what the DMK party and people propagating the idea of Udaynidhi Stalin are saying, and which is a Periyarist ideology. Again, that is what Udaynidhi Stalin is saying. I'm not sure if Periyar was, you know, today, you know, on Earth, on Mother Earth, would he have seconded those opinions,
yeah,
or
true.
would he have said it the same way Udaynidhi Stalin said it? So those are certain things that, you know, people have to look at. Of course, it gets really sensitive because it's a religious, and with religion, and especially Hinduism, we wear it on our sleeves. You never know what's going to happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the next set, you know, of news, I'm just going to read here because I think this is interesting, important. I think we missed this out, Nancy. Judge heard Gyanvapi case for 2 years without jurisdiction. CJ takes over case in interest of judicial propriety and discipline. I'm trying to understand what was happening because I was constantly digressing in my head. The cases included pleas by Anjuman Intizamiya Masjid challenging the maintainability of a suit by Hindu parties seeking restoration of Lord Vishweshwar temple at the Gyanvapi mosque site, and another petition challenging a court direction to conduct an ASI survey of the mosque. Cases related to the Kashi Vishwanath Gyanvapi title suit were withdrawn recently from a single judge bench of the Allahabad High Court as it was hearing the matter without jurisdiction. Chief Justice Pritinkar Divakar has said, who's the Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. In his August 20th order uploaded recently, Justice Divakar termed the hearings by Justice Prakash Padya an instance of justice impropriety. The single judge continued with the hearing of these cases for over 2 years, even though he had no jurisdiction in the matter as per the roster. So, again, I mean, what does one do? Hasi aati hai, ajeeb sa dukh bhi hota hai.
Yeah.
What is the
Nah,
you
it's
know,
been such-
judicial bodies doing? Why such lackluster approach? Gyanvapi is something that the entire nation has been talking about.
And
And
now we're
after so
getting
many
to
years,
know-
you're coming in, so many months, you're coming out and saying that, you know, the judge did not have jurisdiction, which is why I took over.
Yeah, and you know, this issue has been going on for so long. Everybody is eyeing out on the Allahabad High Court that what are they going to say, what are the ruling is going to say. Now you're saying that, you know, the ruling that we have been doing in the past is also not, is the ruling that we had in past as well is not eligible now. And I was reading here as well, the Indian Express has reported that Allahabad High Court CJ is withdrawing all the Gyanvapi cases from the single judge bench, and they are saying now we are going to take all the fresh cases, all the, you know,
It's going to basically be, you know, studied again.
now, so we are back to square one now.
Are we not? Well, God knows.
God knows.
As long as, for me, as long as the beautiful image of the Gyanvapi mosque adjacent and the walls connecting
Kashi
with the Kashi
temple.
Vishwanath, two iconic temples,
Yeah.
that's the picture of India in Banaras,
Yeah.
confluence of education and culture, Pani ka sammelan,
Yeah.
cultures ka sammelan, from cuisines to literature. As long as this case goes on, I'm happy to see both the buildings standing, both the buildings right next to each
Yeah,
other,
true, I
both the
agree.
religions, and that board that says Gyanvapi this side,
And
Kashi
Kashi
Vishwanath this
Vishwanath,
side,
yeah.
the same way. I'm happy. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the new dengue strain. Dengue, chikungunya, come summer, come monsoon, people start talking about how, you know, standing water should not be there. You should clean out your coolers, you know, put some diesel, various remedies that the Delhi government keeps, you know, propagating for. dengue does become serious. I don't know if you've ever got dengue, but I have suffered from a weird case of dengue, and you know, that dengue attack just took the life out of me. So I understand how ghastly it can get.
Yeah, and you have to be very careful with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Blood count goes down, the platelet count goes down, your ability to recover goes down. It's all nariyal pani and anar and pomegranate. So yeah, of course, even treatment is a little treacherous. But take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. New dengue strain found in a third of the samples sent from the city for tests. DEN2 causes sudden drop in platelet count, more severe than DEN1. This is coming across from the doctors' community. The DEN2 strain of the dengue, which causes a sudden drop in the platelet count and red spots on the skin of patients, has been detected in a third of samples that were sent for a sero survey from the city. According to doctors, the more common DEN1 strain manifests in symptoms such as fever and body ache. So that's actually, I think, what I was suffering through. But the second strain leads to high-grade fever, vomiting, rashes in the chest, and dengue shock syndrome. A dengue shock syndrome. Loni, Indrapuram are part of the hotspots, ladies and gentlemen. Machhar se apne aap ko katne na dein. It's that weird tiger patterned mosquito with that white and black stripes on it. Noida has sent over 50 dengue samples to Lucknow. Reports show 17 samples were that of DEN2 strain. Symptoms of DEN2 strain are headache, nausea, vomiting, swollen glands, rashes on the chest and swollen glands. Doctors say the dengue infection this time is severe and has led to multiple organ failure in patients. The dengue hotspots in the NCR, and please make note of that: Loni, Indrapuram, Siddharth Vihar, Vaishali, Muradnagar, and in Gautam Budh Nagar, it is the Greater Noida West area, not very far away from here. Again, Nancy, I mean, you're talking about how Nipah virus can travel to Kashmir. Why can't DEN2 strain travel from Greater Noida West to where our building is over here? I'm just going to give the statistical data, and then we can quickly talk about what the Hindu has for us. Ghaziabad reported 900 cases last year. In 2019, there were 88 cases. In 2020, there were 15. 2021, there were 252. 2022, there were 900 cases. And this year till now, there are 432 cases. So the uptake is there. Of course, ye saal abhi khatm nahi hua hai. We still have a long way to go in this year. But not as bad as 900. But the DEN2 strain, are you worried?
Well, I am definitely, because I suffered from dengue just recently right now, and I think the symptoms, they don't go away. You know, it takes you at least a month to recover from it, and down we have DEN2 as well, which is causing organ failures right now. So there is a good chance that you might get killed. There is a chance that and you know, when we talk about dengue, whenever you have to get plasma, and there is always a shortage of plasma. I have been, a lot of my friends, you know, who were admitted to hospital because of the shortage of platelets. We had to, like, you know, I myself have personally gone from places to places to plasma bank to plasma bank, because there is always a shortage in India of plasma. And if we have, you know, a severe variant of dengue, I don't think so it's going to be very difficult for India to tackle this situation, because dengue is something that we don't have a proper cure for it. You know, as the symptoms comes, the doctor prescribe you medicine according to that symptom, that if you are having a headache, take this painkiller, take that painkiller. So there is not a proper medical assistance to dengue right now. And now that we have a new variant coming in, I think it's going to be very difficult to, you know, tackle the situation and come up with something that you know, is going to help people who are suffering from dengue. So there needs to be some research around it, and we have to find a solution to how are we going to tackle.
Absolutely, people are talking about Omicron and you know, the Delta variants. There's so many variants that we saw from COVID-19. People are talking about a different you know, strain of you know, influenza and common cold. People are talking about the Nipah virus, and now DEN2. So please make sure that, you know, in terms of you know, water hygiene that is being maintained around and near your house. If you've got little children back at home, save them first from this DEN2 strain, because according to the doctors, This is way, way, way more serious. All right, let's shift our focus to some international disputes that are taking place. It's United States versus Google in antitrust trial. It's US versus Google in antitrust trial. Justice Department says tech major pays $10 billion a year to maintain search dominance, popular because of quality, counters the company. Okay, now take a look at this. Google has exploited its dominance of the internet search market to lock out competitors and smother innovation. The Department of Justice has made this charge on the company. This charge was made at the opening of the biggest US antitrust trial in a quarter of the century. This case is about the future of the internet and whether Google's search engine will ever face meaningful competition, said Kenneth Dinza, the Justice Department's lead litigator. And it's actually a big question, you know. It's actually a big question, and this case is about the future of the internet. Some quotations from the Google antitrust trial, Google versus United States over there. Kenneth Dinzer, who's the government lawyer and the lead litigator in this case. Nancy, the bigger question is, if these, you know, big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, and they have the wherewithal to suppress and smother innovation. We've seen Silicon Valley, a real famous show, you know, how people try to build a small company with the idea of a bigger shark coming in and consuming them. Because that's the goal. They don't want to give Google competition. They want to be good enough for Google to be acquired by Google. That's the dream right now. So we've seen that in various, you know, the Silicon Valley TV episode and, you know, various other companies, and that's the norm and trend as well. If they are smothering innovation by this way, isn't it bad? So when Kenneth Dinzer, the lead litigator, says that this is about the future of internet, maybe this is not just about US versus Google, this is about the globe versus Google.
So
and think about it, ladies and gentlemen, people who are with us, you know, on the stream, get down in the comment section, help us understand, is it just US versus Google? Tomorrow, Google could clamp down on your company as well. Tomorrow, Microsoft could come down on your company.
I mean, my opinion on this is that it's always going to be, the debate is always going to be there, because when we talk about Google now has a monopoly. So it's very hard for, you know, what is the next alternative that you have? If I delete Google from my phone right now, there is no alternative. I am an iPhone user and still I never got used to, you know, iMaps or, you know, Google, I don't use iCloud Drive. I have to use Google Drive because that is the way they have, you know, built that trust in the consumer that we feel secure.
Let me put it this way. Do you use Safari or do you use Google Chrome?
Oh, it's Chrome.
Because you use Google Chrome?
Yeah, I find it more convenient for I don't know what reasons, but I just can't use Safari. I have to download Google, and you know, this information leaking, the you know, breach of privacy of consumer, and you know, I think people in India or people in the world, they fail to understand. When you take on the agreement now that I agree with the terms and condition of the privacy, that privacy they are not.
Nobody has the time to read it.
Yeah, they are clearly saying that they are not saying that we are not going to use your information. They are saying that we are going to use that information in a particular way. So you have to be careful. So they have always been transparent.
You have to be careful.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're doing news about, you know, a big tech like this, you have to be careful about what we end up saying as well.
Yeah.
Because
I don't want to
these are the stakes. These are the stakes. You know, I'll tell you, these are the stakes. Google pays more than $10 billion per year for these privileged positions. This is what Kenneth Dinzer has said. Google's contracts ensure that rivals cannot match the search quality, ad monetization, especially on mobile phones, which is where mostly Google is. Koi khabar hoti hai? What's the first thing you do? You quickly open your phone and you Google it up. Somebody asks you something, you say, "Arey bhai, Google kar lijiye." Why don't you Google it? Googling. What are you good at? I'm good at Googling. I mean, it's a skill set in today's time. It says, through this feedback loop, this wheel has been turning for more than 12 years. It always turns to Google's advantage. And if at all there is a story here, which I think we should talk about Nipah virus. I think we should definitely talk about what's going on in the Supreme Court. I think we should definitely talk about Google as well. If Google is in fact spending $10 billion a year just to make sure that it stays in that privileged position and is clamping down on all the other competition, how is that good for the future of the internet? Isn't that question by the legal prosecutor, the lead litigator, isn't that question valid?
It is valid, of course, because when we talk about the world economy, when we talk about, Google is just not, restricted to US. The government of the country has always been, against this big techs, because they don't come, they cannot come under the government's rule. So people see, we can get information in two ways, either from private entity like Google or with public information that we have to get by the government. So normal citizen of the country, we tend to trust Google more because we think, no, they are not going to get influenced by the government. So the government is now very threatened by these entities because they are creating a monopoly, they are influencing people, because in the end algorithm is very important part of our daily life.
Right.
If if you live in a particular area where being a radical Hindu is an ideology, there is a good chance that you will get articles, your algorithm will set in a way that you will get articles like that only. So this information that will be get feeded into your mind.
Nancy, your phone might be listening to you right now as well.
Yeah, it
Maybe
does.
When you open up, you get some advertisements according to what you've just been
There
talking
have been
about.
so much instances when I'm talking about I want to buy shoes and the next advertisement that I'm seeing on my phone is of a shoe.
Yeah.
So you like it or not,
Google
the phone is listening to
One more
you.
quotation that I'm reading from the article here. It says, Dinser said that more searches Google processes, the more data it collects.
Yeah.
Data that can be used to improve future searches and give it an even bigger advantage over its rivals. User data is the oxygen for a search engine.
Yeah, that is what I am talking about. You have to read the privacy. They are clearly stating that we are going to use the data that you are going to provide us. We are going to use it to make your user interference experience better, but that information can go anywhere.
According to him, he says that Google search and ad products are better than its rivals can ever hope to be.
True.
He goes on to say that Google pays so much for its search engine to be the default option on products from Apple and other companies. Dinser said that Google began weaponizing defaults more than 15 years ago and cited an internal Google document calling its arrangement as Achilles' heel for rival search engines offered by Yahoo and MSN. I mean, Bing, Yahoo, MSN, people don't even go to these anymore. You don't even trust a Yahoo search page.
Yeah, true.
Will you trust a Yahoo search page?
I would never. I don't trust Safari. I download Google Chrome because I feel like this is the most convenient and this is the place where I'll get the most relevant information out.
But even as we're talking about the more data Google collects, the more advantageous it becomes for its own algorithm. iPhones are something that they are renowned for not collecting your data, of being very private, of being very secured. And ladies and gentlemen, even as we're talking about iPhone 15 now in the market, 15 different colors. Nancy's already been going gaga over the pink color that they're going to put across. What's new in the iPhone 15? When is it launching? Has it already launched? What's the price structure like? Tell the viewers, you already own an iPhone.
Yeah, well, it's already there in the market and people can, in India, there's going to be time, every time they launch in September, we'll get in the markets by in a month or so and we'll be able to buy it, and the price range is always going to be above 1 lakh. It starts with the basic price of 1,30,000 and then it comes down to 80 maximum, but then they launch Pro Max, then they launch Ultra Pro Max, and there is, if you look at the model of iPhone 14 and iPhone 15, there is not going to be much difference, but they'll make one slight change in the body and you'll be able to differentiate between both the models. So they're doing nothing, they're making the phones bigger and bigger, and people like me who are obsessed over Apple products are going to buy it. So
Apple event 2023 highlights very quickly. I'm sure you've already caught the keynote speeches and all that has been put on display. Apple event 2023 highlights: iPhone 15 series, Watch Series 9, Apple Watch Ultra 2 has been launched. Yes. My goodness, Apple Watch Ultra was just too good and just too costly for somebody sane. Apple has officially introduced its latest lineup, including the iPhone 15 series, Apple Watch Ultra 2 and Apple Watch Series 9. The Apple Watch Series 9 boasts significant improvements, featuring the new S9 chip that Apple claims is 60% faster, coupled with a 30% faster GPU. Notably, new features include health data access with Siri, name drop for sharing information and nearby users, and double tap for various watch controls. Apple also announced an update to last year's Apple Watch Ultra with customizable watch faces and power zones for data collection during exercise. All the cool things on Apple Watch Ultra, Apple has begun doing it.
Yeah.
Basically, you thought it was some sturdy looking watch. Now the cool elements and
element
angles will
is
start
there.
coming. Furthermore, Apple is adopting a USB-C connector for the iPhone this time. The starting prices for these products range from $399 for the Apple Watch Series 9 to $999 for the iPhone 15 Pro. iPhone 15 Pro costs about $1,000.
Yeah.
What's that? That's almost like what, 85,000
Yeah,
90,000 rupees
90,000.
on the upper range.
approx.
iPhone 15 Pro Max at $1,200.
Yeah.
Apple Event 2023 highlight again the device feature now industry's first 3 nanometer chip, 19 billion transistors, feature a 6-core CPU with enhanced performance. The smartphone comes with a macro photography mode with up to 10 times the optical zoom range. My goodness, maybe all these cameras in the studio will have to change with iPhone 15 Pros.
Yeah.
That will work. Maybe more budget as well. Take a look at that. Some visuals from the session and the keynote special event that was that happened, the Apple Event 2023. Always, I mean, their advertisements also.
I mean, look at this video. The way they are portraying iPhone is just such a big deal that, you know, and they are also, you know, they are, see, the first phone they kept on the stack was the pink one. So I think this pink iPhone is going to be an historic change, and they're doing nothing, bro. They just changed the color, and people are going to still go gaga over this new iPhone model for sure. And I know Apple maniacs like me are going to stand in the queue from today only.
What about the island? What about the island on the top? Are all phones going to have the island? Because people were saying that everybody's, you know, all phones, all iPhone 15s will have the island.
I mean, see, you remove the jack, you add an island, everything is going to be same. I'm right now
iPhone 15 Pro is built of titanium, which was used in the Mars rover.
Oh my God.
That's the, you know, Apple iPhone 15 gets A16 Bionic chipset. Apple iPhone 15 to feature 48 megapixel primary camera sensor. Apple iPhone 15 unveiled with better display and enhanced HDR. My goodness, what all is going to be there? I think there's going to be a detailed discussion. Our business team is going to, of course, put that across. But, you know, even as we're talking about international news and iPhone 15, we'll have to see the loyalty the Apple brand is trying to, you know, bring and build up. Because let's not forget, iPhone 14 Pro users and 15 Pro users, उनके बीच की कोई deal strike करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. That is something that we'll have to look at. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. Let's quickly take a look at this. Kim Jong-un arrives in Russia amid US warning against sale of weapons. Reports suggest North Korea leader might meet Vladimir Putin. And there are some pictures also. Kim Jong-un with Russian Minister Alexander Kozlov at Kherson, about 127 kilometers south of Vladivostok on Tuesday. There are pictures of the man in that green bullet train that he always travels in. North Korean leader Kim Jong arrived in Russia by private train on Tuesday for talks with President Vladimir Putin amid warnings from Washington they should not trade weapons. Video footage released by Russian state TV showed Kim smiling as he stepped off his train onto a red carpet at a station in the Russian Far East to be greeted by a welcome delegation. A Russian source with knowledge of the trip had told Reuters earlier that Kim had arrived on Tuesday morning, leaving his train to meet Russian officials in Kherson, the main rail gateway to Russia's Far East, before continuing on. Footage released by the Oleg Kozmiako, governor of Russia's Far Eastern Primorsky region, showed Kim sat in a big white chair talking with a delegation led by Alexander Kozlov, Russia's Minister for Natural Resources. The visuals on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Kim Jong-un, you don't get to see this man not launching a nuclear weapon or, you know, not doing something inside North Korea. Him stepping outside means business for sure. United States has warned them, do not trade weapons.
And I think this is, this was the third or the second time I've seen Kim Jong-un in public appearance coming out, and the way he uses just his train to travel is something that is something so interesting to me, that here it's written that from his 2018 trip to Beijing to a 60-hour journey to Hanoi for a summit with the then US President, Donald Trump has always used this train for many high-profile trips. Like this, it says that it's a moving fortress. So I think it's so important that this green train, why is he traveling in that? And if we talk about the bilaterals that might have happened between Russia and Korea, I think it's very important for us to be careful of it. US is raising alarms. I think everybody should
you're
understand.
actually right, but I'm telling you, people will be more interested in that train.
Yeah.
What are the special features of that train? You know, actually, we could do a quick YouTube video on that as well. A great idea. We should put out a video on the special features of this particular train.
Inside the moving
what's behind
fortress.
the green color,
Yeah.
the moving fortress, and what is it that makes Kim Jong-un, only travel
I mean, what
in
is
this?
in there that he can sit in a train for 60 hours? I mean, what is in the train? I really want to know. Because why somebody will choose not to fly and use a train? I mean,
It's a
I
private
have to
train,
get
and it's a class ki baat hai, status ki baat hai.
Definitely.
People would like to travel in private jets. People would like to travel in chartered yachts and cruise lines. The man travels in a special train. What's wrong with that? You think the trains are going away from the fashion and trend? Well, look at this guy.
Yeah. I think he is the only who's the brand ambassador of, the trains can be used to, if you want to travel from Korea to US, you can also use a train. So I have to give it to Kim Jong-un, and the way he's making the public appearance, I think I've seen him for the second or the third time making an appearance, smiling, and actually nothing related to anything, weaponry or anything. He's not launching any nuclear thing. He's just there to meet Putin. And I'm really excited what they are going to do, what the talks are going to be about. So I think we have to be, concerned about the meet as well, because it might intensify the Ukraine-Russia war if the, if arms deal is on the table.
You're absolutely right, because it's important to note here, I'll tell you what, because in a significant statement at the 8th Eastern Economic Forum, the EEF, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered his resounding support to India's Make in India initiative, emphasizing the significance of domestically produced automobiles. He commended Prime Minister Modi for championing this cause, labeling it the right thing. Moreover, he underlined that discussions about this project had spanned several years. These remarks followed a landmark moment when India, alongside the US, UAE, Saudi Arabia, France, Germany, Italy, the European Union, inked a memorandum for understanding the new SALT, the Spice Route 2.0, our economic corridor, during the G20 Summit in New Delhi to pave the way for the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. There's a reaction on this as well. Let's quickly listen into that reaction. Even as America is saying that, don't trade weapons. Kim Jong-un is might meet Vladimir Putin. Khasan mein meetings chal rahi Kim Jong-un ki. He's traveled in that special bullet train. This is the development where Russian President Vladimir Putin has commended Prime Minister Modi for the Make in India initiative, saying it's the right thing. There's a reaction. Take a look.
I guess in this regard we should learn from many partners of ours, namely our partners in India. They are mostly focusing on production and use of the cars and vessels produced in India. And in this regard, Prime Minister Modi is doing the right thing by encouraging people to use the brand Made in India. We have those vehicles available as well, and we should make use of it.
Well, all right. So, Russian President coming out there and commending Prime Minister Modi. Not going to be liked by the Western Bloc or the NATO alliance, or maybe Joe Biden as well. But maybe Biden will have to gulp it down, considering it's Prime Minister Modi. Modi magic is working. All right, quickly moving on. We're at a paucity of time. Violence at United Kingdom mission. And this is after Sunak and Justin Trudeau. Trudeau was sat here till yesterday because of the technical snag. I'm also learning that Prime Minister Modi gave his own aircraft, Air Force, in the Indian Air Force's special aircraft, Prime Minister's own, special aircraft to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, to go back. They said no. They waited it out.
He refused
they took their own plane finally. For 2 days they were stuck here. On the other hand, Trudeau and Rishi Sunak on that pro-Khalistani angle, they were asked the question, they were grilled, and they were sent the right kind of message. There was right kind of posturing and messaging on that particular front as well. Now this is what we're learning. This is what we're picking up. Take a look at this, ladies and gents. NIA identifies 15 lookouts next. More than 2 months after releasing photos of 45 people who were allegedly involved in the violence at the Indian High Commission in London during a protest on 19th March, the National Investigation Agency has identified 15 of them and is preparing to send their details to the Immigration Department to issue lookout circular against them. In a related development, the NIA has also identified 4 Khalistan supporters who, well, let me continue reading this. The Khalistan supporters who allegedly targeted the Indian consulate in San Francisco on July 2nd. So it's not just UK, also in the United States. Another NIA team is set to visit Canada next month as part of its investigation into the Khalistani attack on the Indian High Commission over there as well. While the NIA has identified 15 people, the next challenge would be to persuade the UK government to take steps against them. Even as the G20 Summit was on, a referendum, a new anti-India referendum took place in Surrey.
Yeah.
This is what we covered yesterday.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau was here in India, could not accept Prime Minister Modi's plane. God knows what trust deficit is there. We've been so kind. The Khalistani angle is, of course, over here at play. Rishi Sunak, Trudeau both felt India's ire at that front. Now, NIA is going to US, is going to Canada. Already in UK, people have been identified.
I mean, I don't understand that when people are going to understand that, you know, freedom of expression, this extremism that is going on, this is completely anti-India. And I think if it has been India, I think we would have also condemned this. We would have also been there. We would have also said that, you know, this is not going to be allowed. And the way Rishi Sunak came out and the way he said that, you know, this is not acceptable. I think this is high time now that people, you know, take accountability of the protest of the, you know, this.
Those are the visuals. I'm going to request the control room to quickly play those visuals full frame so that we can see what's hanging on the consulate building over there. The flag. You can see the flag and the Khalistani supporters down below. This essentially is the situation and the issue and the bone of contention. But quickly moving on to news coming in from the United States, because not all is well for Joe Biden. On another front, United States Speaker directs panel to open Biden impeachment probe. McCarthy has directed the panel to open Biden impeachment probe. Inquiry so far has found a culture of corruption around the Bidens. This coming across from McCarthy himself. US Speaker Kevin McCarthy said Tuesday he is directing a House committee to open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden over his family business dealings, launching historic proceedings ahead of the 2024 election. Presidential election, let's not forget. And Donald Trump has been arraigned so many times. He's been facing so many charges and felonies. He's making history as a United States president for all the wrong reasons again. McCarthy said the House Oversight Committee's investigation so far has found a culture of corruption around the Biden family as Republicans probe the business dealings of Biden's son, Hunter Biden, from before the Democratic president took office. बेटों की गलती का शायद भुगतान करना पड़े जो बाइडेन साहब को. You never know.
Yeah, I think MK Stalin might know what Biden is going through right now.
There's a reaction, I'm being told. Let's quickly play out that reaction.
That's why today I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. This logical next step will give our committees the full power to gather all the facts and answers for the American public. That's exactly what we want to know. The answers. I believe the President would want to answer these questions and allegations as well.
Well, that's all the stories that we have for you in today's page one. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Get down in the comment sections. Tell us what you liked, what you disliked. Not all comments can be read, of course, I know, on air. But it's interesting. We laugh over them sometimes. We learn from them sometimes. But before we leave, India have overcome Sri Lanka. They've made it to the finals of the Asia Cup, ladies and gentlemen. A picture over here of Vilal. It's always a tongue twister taking these names. Vilalage's all-round show of unbeaten 42, 5 for 40. And why I'm saying, because, you know, the English pronunciation would have been will all age, which is a proverb, but Vilalage's. Vilalage's all-round show of an unbeaten 42, 5 wickets for 40 runs and 2 catches goes in vain as India ends Sri Lanka's winning streak with a 41-run victory. qualify for the finals, ladies and gentlemen. India make their way into the finals after that fantastic performance against Pakistan, against all the other teams in Nepal as well. Bangladesh we're facing next on Friday, and then after that, of course, final. But that's all the time we have for you. Nancy, many thanks for joining us here with all the insightful inputs. This is Kabir Nakvi signing off. We've got a plethora of shows coming your way. We'll talk about the Nipah virus, we'll talk about Manipur, we'll talk about the INDIA bloc, and a roundup of all the stories. South India with Sudha Satanan comes during the afternoon, and the Global Lens, all the international stories over there with Neha Khanna in the evening. And what's more is going to be constant updates throughout the day. Thank you so much for watching.
GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
All of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies. A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
The list that I have, that we sat down and curated is that a couple of stories that we did cover up yesterday as well. But since they're on the first page and people might have missed them, we'll race you past those. A couple of criminal and murder stories, a couple of stories from what's happening in various courtrooms. But taking a look at the latest developments, today INDIA, the opposition India bloc, is going to sit down. Seat sharing is going to happen. Raghav Chadha from the Aam Aadmi Party has said that uniformity on all issues is not possible. India Alliance does not mean that we're going to be okay with everything. On the other hand, JDU supporters are saying that, Nitish Kumar is your actual prime ministerial candidate.
Yes.
Those Bharat analogies and quotes have been doing the rounds. Lalu Prasad Yadav, Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar. We'll talk about that. Also, impeachment proceedings against Joe Biden. I mean, he looked quite the part with his sunglasses and aviators at Rajghat in the morning in the G20 Summit. But back at home,
something big was waiting for him.
Yep, something big was brewing up. There's a mystery, and the Times of India has done an exclusive, and we'll take you through that. There's a mystery of Chinese bags at the G20 Summit. For 20 hours, some gruesome hours, there was a mystery of these Chinese bags. There was a standoff. There's a new dengue strain that has come about. A new dengue strain in a third of new samples that were collected from Noida. That's what we're going to talk about. United States versus Google, because India versus Twitter is something people couldn't stop talking about back in the day when it was happening. Intermediaries in these social media platforms vis-a-vis government understanding and functionalities. It's a touchy topic always when a social media platform, it traverses the path where it has to